The wind howled low across the dry plains, carrying the scent of dust and wood smoke. The sun dipped behind the red mesas, painting the desert in shades of gold and fire. Rancher Luke Barrett tightened the saddle strap on his old horse, Boone, and glanced toward the horizon. He just buried his last ranch hand that morning, old Jade, who'd been with him since the war. Now, the Barrett ranch stood quiet and hollow again, like the man who owned it. Luke had gotten used to silence. But that night, silence ended. As he rode toward the barn, Boone suddenly snorted and stopped. Luke heard it too, a faint sob, soft and desperate, drifting from behind the haystacks. He drew his revolver and moved slowly, boots crunching over the dirt. There, a flash of movement. A young woman, barely more than a girl, crouched behind the bales. Her clothes were torn, her skin smeared with dust and blood, her long dark hair tangled around her face. "Please don't shoot," she whispered. "I've got nowhere else to go." Luke froze. She was Apache. Every man in town had a story about raids, about burned wagons and stolen cattle. But this girl, she looked like the war had already been fought on her. "What are you doing on my land?" he asked, voice low. She lifted her head, eyes fierce but trembling. "I can't live without a man," she said in broken English. "They threw me out of the tribe, said I am cursed because I couldn't bear children." Luke lowered his gun slowly. "You're saying your people cast you out." She nodded once, her lip quivering. "I walk for 3 days, no food, no fire. I just want not to die alone." The rancher's jaw clenched. He'd seen plenty of cruelty in his time, but something in the girl's trembling hands hit deep. He took off his coat and laid it over her shoulders. "You can stay for the night," he said quietly. "Barn's warmer than out here." She stared at him like he'd offered her the moon. "You trust me." He shrugged. "Don't see much harm you can do half-starved." By morning, she'd already swept the barn, fed the horses, and patched a tear in his saddle blanket. When Luke stepped in, coffee in hand, he raised a brow. "You work fast." She looked up shyly. "In my tribe, women work or they die." "What's your name?" he asked. She hesitated. "Naily, it means I am loved." Luke smiled faintly. "You sure about that?" Her eyes softened. Maybe not before, but maybe now. Days turned into weeks. Naily learned to cook with flour and beans, to ride the smaller horses, to mend fences alongside Luke. She laughed when he slipped in the mud, and he found himself laughing back, something he hadn't done in years. But Red Creek Town didn't take kindly to what they saw. Whispers started first, then came the men from the saloon. "She's Apache, Barrett. You can't keep her here." Luke stood tall, eyes like steel. "She's under my roof. You got a problem, you deal with me." That night, someone threw a rock through his window. It had a note tied to it, "Savage Lover." Naily saw it before Luke did. She gathered her few belongings and started walking toward the hills. But Luke found her halfway down the trail. "Where do you think you're going?" he said sharply. "They hate me," she said, tears cutting through the dirt on her cheeks. "You'll lose everything for helping me." He took her hands, rough and calloused from work. "I already lost everything once years ago. My wife, my boy. Don't tell me who I can or can't save now." She stared at him through tears. "Why are you so kind to me?" He sighed. "Maybe 'cause I know what it feels like to need someone and to have no one there." That winter, snow came early. Luke fell sick, coughing blood from the cold. Naily never left his side. She cooked, cleaned, wrapped him in furs, and whispered prayers in her native tongue. When he finally opened his eyes after 3 fevered nights, she was holding his hand, half asleep on the floor beside the bed. "You stayed," he murmured. Her voice was soft. "I told you I can't live without a man." He smiled weakly. "Maybe it's me who can't live without you." Months later, the spring rains came. The fields bloomed again. Luke walked with Naily down by the river, where the cottonwoods swayed in the wind. "Town, still talking," he said, "but I don't care anymore." She smiled faintly. "Then what do you care for?" He took a breath, looked at her and said quietly, "For you." She blinked. "You would marry an Apache woman." He nodded. Ain't about what folks see, it's about who stayed when no one else would. Tears filled her eyes. She pressed a trembling hand to his chest. Then I will stay forever. He smiled, pulling her close. Good, 'cause this ranch gets real quiet without your voice. Years later, when the railroad came through Red Creek, travelers would tell stories of the ranch on the hill, where a white man and an Apache woman ran it together, their laughter echoing across the plains. Some called it scandal. Others called it sin. But the wise ones said it was love, the kind that didn't ask for permission, the kind that healed old wounds between two worlds. And whenever Naomi looked across the fields at sunset, she would whisper in her native tongue, I am loved. And this time she truly was. Sunrise,